Well, just when you thought things couldn't get much worse, the Eagles dropped some shocking news today that changes everything, as all of a sudden, the Birds' defense has taken a major blow after this news on their biggest star. However, it could mean an opportunity just opened up for an intriguing rookie. Plus, the hopes for a Darius Slay reunion in Philly are not dead yet, and why can we not rule out the same for Mekhi Becton later down the line? So let's talk about that, the latest on Justin Herbert, and all the other latest news starting right now. So the Eagles' Monday night matchup with the Chargers is getting closer and closer, so do me a favor and drop a like down below if you're excited, and subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos. And for the Birds, I think it's safe to say that this is probably a must-win game for them at this point in the season. I mean, they're falling farther and farther behind in the NFC, their lead in the NFC East over the Cowboys is dwindling, and after losing 2 straight games, they are in desperate need of a bounce-back win, especially this late in the season with not very many games left. And in regards to the Chargers matchup, we still don't know if it's going to be Justin Herbert starting, who of course is dealing with that fracture in his left hand that he just had to get surgery for on Monday, or if it'll be the backup Trey Lance. Now on Wednesday, Herbert did not practice fully but participated in the team's walkthrough, and he told reporters that he had a plate and multiple screws put into that left hand to stabilize it, and that, quote, "The plan is to prepare as if I'm going to play and see how the next couple of days goes. Do everything I can to be out there for the team and the guys out there." And I have no doubt that it is Herbert's plan to play on Monday. It's just going to be about whether the team doctors deem that he can't hurt the injured hand any worse and they actually clear him. And again, we'll have to wait and see how things go this week. Today, he was out there in some capacity, and we probably won't get the official announcement for that decision until later in the week, possibly right before game time. And then Chargers offensive coordinator Greg Roman today gave a positive update for Justin Herbert, saying, quote, "We are really optimistic Justin's going to play." So again, that's obviously very positive, but we will have to wait and see what it looks like later in the week. But obviously, whether he plays or not affects this game significantly, not just in the pass game, but also with the run game, because if he is playing, that means that the Chargers will have to turn away from under center looks and operate pretty much exclusively out of pistol and gun formations. Now, as I said in my last video, my guess is that he will play, but we'll just have to wait and see. If he does play, though, it's definitely a risk playing behind that Chargers offensive line, as they currently might be the worst overall O-line in the entire NFL. I mean, you can see here that they're towards the very bottom in both pass protection and run blocking, and in pass pro specifically, they have an overall pass protection score of just 19 out of 100 on the season, which ranks 31st. So yeah, they're pretty terrible. And the Eagles D-line definitely needs to take advantage of this matchup and have a get-right performance after their awful showing against the Bears last week, especially in the run game. Unfortunately for them, though, not only are the Chargers actually very good running the ball despite the O-line struggles, and they look to be getting their top back this week in the rookie Omarion Hampton, who has been out since early October with an ankle fracture, but also the Eagles are surprisingly going to be without their top defensive lineman for this game. Now, one of the reasons for the Eagles' D-line inconsistencies this year all around, including last week, has been the play of Jalen Carter, as Carter's been banged up all season and dealing with various injuries, most notably some shoulder issues that have plagued him since all the way back at the start of training camp. And while he's fought through them all season and had some really good moments where he's looked like the dominant star defensive tackle that we're all used to seeing, it's been clear all season that he just hasn't been himself.
Jalen Carter didn't really look like himself. What's your read on what was going on there?
Yeah, it was a lot like the rest of us, some good, some not good. I think we were all guilty of that.
He suggested after the game that the shoulder or some sort of injury is plaguing him right now. Is that a factor? And there were several times when he kind of took roundabout ways on defense. And is he trying to avoid contact there, or is that just him kind of freelancing?
Yeah, he does have a shoulder issue. He's been playing with it. Late in the game, he had a great play with it. But yeah, it's definitely something there.
It's clear that Jaylen Carter's shoulder issues were a lot more serious than he or the Eagles were leading us to believe. As on Thursday, shocking news dropped from Philadelphia from Adam Schefter saying that Carter is out for Monday night's game in LA after undergoing a procedure on Monday on both of his shoulders. And it also says that he's now undergoing treatment on both shoulders and will be listed as week to week. And he did this with the intent of being as close to 100% as possible for the Birds' playoff run. So again, this is obviously very surprising news. I mean, the fact that Carter was even playing through injuries to not just one, but both of his shoulders that ended up requiring surgery, and he was still producing at the level that he was, is just insanely impressive. But it also provides more context for Carter's struggles this season and why he just hasn't quite looked the same. So on one hand, it's fantastic to know that JC will be back at some point and presumably fully healthy or close to it for the playoffs, again, assuming the Eagles make it, which that's a whole different story. But also, to not have Carter available for the next few weeks definitely is a major blow to an Eagles D-line that, again, is already struggling. I mean, I heard Josh Davis say this in his video on Wednesday. The Eagles are apparently on pace for their 6th fewest sacks in franchise history and their 4th highest yards per carry allowed. So, again, to not have their best defensive lineman available for the next few weeks, even if he is injured, definitely really hurts. And now, without him, it seems that we might see more of a rookie fan favorite, that being Ty Robinson, aka the Vanilla Gorilla.
With Jalen Carter dealing with the shoulder, is it possible that Ty Robinson might factor more into the rotation there?
Possible.
If Robinson does get more playing time now, even though I'm excited about his potential, I honestly have no expectations for him just because he hasn't really played at all this year and he is a rookie, but still excited to see what he can do. That said, the Eagles got to rely even more now on Moro Ojomo and Jordan Davis to pick up the slack, and someone like Byron Young will definitely see more action, and maybe even Gabe Hall could be elevated from the practice squad. So again, we'll see what happens, but this news on Jalen Carter definitely changes things significantly. Still though, the Eagles D-line could have a favorable matchup this week with the Chargers offensive line that has allowed 40 sacks this year, which is 6th worst in the league. And as sad as it is to say, one guy who hasn't exactly helped is the former Eagle and Super Bowl champion Mekhi Becton, who after a year in Philly has had a tumultuous first season in LA, being in and out of the lineup with multiple injuries and playing through pain. He's also had career worst marks of a 40.8 run blocking grade and a 50 pass pro grade per PFF, and he was even benched in Week 11 against the Jags, possibly because of that injury, but still, that has caused Becton to be very frustrated in LA, and after that benching in Week 11, he expressed that frustration, saying, quote, "Just stay healthy and try to finish every game, if I'm allowed." And he also said that, quote, "Things are different around here," and also that the situation is, quote, "very frustrating for me." So it's clear that Becton is not happy in Los Angeles, and it just hasn't really worked out for either side so far. And with him owed $10 million next year, who knows? Maybe the Chargers let him go and the Eagles have a shot to bring him back. Because it's clear watching them in their run game this season that losing Becton was actually a really big deal, and it's hurt them a lot this year. But, obviously, that's all hypothetical and way down the line. For now, let's just hope that this Eagles defensive line wins this matchup with a Chargers O-line that, again, isn't exactly the best. But now, switching over to another one of the Eagles' offseason departures, we look at Darius Slay, as things just took a really interesting turn there. As of course, he was recently released by the Steelers, and while a return to the Eagles seemed very possible, he unfortunately was claimed by the Buffalo Bills off of waivers on Wednesday. However, the story doesn't end there, as it was also reported on Wednesday by Ian Rappaport that the Eagles put in a claim for Slay, but the Bills were just one spot ahead of them on the waiver wire, basically meaning that they just straight up ruined the reunion between Slay and the Eagles. But there's more, as Jeff McLean responded to a question asking if Slay could maybe refuse to play for Buffalo and they put him back on waivers, and he said, quote, "Believe there is a possibility." And what do you know? On Thursday, Adam Schefter reported, quote, "Breaking. Veteran cornerback Darius Slay, whom the Buffalo Bills claimed on waivers Thursday, is unsure if he wants to continue playing and will not be reporting to Buffalo. Quote, "Slay is honored that a first-class organization like the Bills claimed him, but he is going to take some time away from football right now and decide in the next few days if he wants to keep playing." Slay's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, told ESPN. I mean, this could not be any more obvious to me. I mean, Slay clearly wanted to be in Philly. He still clearly wants to go back to the Eagles right now, and this is without a doubt in my mind an attempt to force the Bills to let him go so that he can sign back with the Eagles. Now, technically, the Bills don't have to do what Slay wants, and if he is truly contemplating retirement just because he's actually not sure if he wants to continue playing, but if he changes his mind, then the Bills would retain his rights. But still, the whole situation just got a lot more interesting, and it's not over. I mean, the hope of a Slay reunion in Philly is still very alive.
Almost a career-altering trade, and it was about 2 years ago. I was actually traded to the Detroit Lions, and I called up, and I got the phone call, and I was contemplating if I should retire or not about 2 years ago, and I was like, you just traded me to the Lions? I go, I'm retired. Like, I don't know how that trade can go through, and then 2 days later, the trade never went through.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Wow, they're going to trade you?
Yeah, I got traded. I told that story before last year.
I never heard that.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, no, I'm retired. How can you trade me? And I stayed on the Patriots.
Moving on, though, I wanted to give a huge shout-out to Jordan Mailata for being the Eagles' nominee for Walter Payton Man of the Year. Obviously, that's the most important award the NFL gives out, and it's just awesome to see what Jordan has grown into during his time in Philly, not just as a player, but as a teammate and impact member of the community. So, shout out and congrats to him. But now for more Eagles injury news out of their first practice of the week on Thursday. Obviously, Jalen Carter wasn't there, having come off those shoulder surgeries, and then Lane Johnson also, unfortunately, was not out there at practice as he continues to come back from that foot injury. Still don't know exactly what the timeline for that looks like, but returner/receiver Xavier Gibson was out there, so we'll see how that affects things in the punt return game. Obviously, last week, Britton Covey was brought up to the active roster, and he took over punt returning duties. I thought he did well in his first game, although he didn't really get much of an opportunity, but just overall, I prefer him over Gibson anyway, so we'll talk more about that in another video later this week. But you guys know that I'm going to continue to cover everything for the Eagles that comes out in the lead up to their game against the Chargers on Monday, and also preview that matchup. So if you don't want to miss anything, make sure you subscribe and you turn on notifications. And also, while you're at it, make sure you drop a like down below to show some support, because it really does help me out a ton. Let's see if we can get to at least 500 likes today. And also hit the hype button, because that helps me out a ton as well. And leave a comment just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. How much do you think Jaylen Carter's absence is going to hurt this Eagles defense? And also, if you do want to watch another Eagles video, you can check this out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.